Hello everyone, Darren with an iPhoto here, and welcome to the first video in my channel. The first thing I wanted to do is just apologise. First of all, I put my trailer up a couple of weeks ago and now it's sort of taken me a bit of time to get my first couple of videos up, and that's because I've been sick the last couple of weeks, so the only thing I managed to get up last week was my unboxing video on my other channel. So the first video I wanted to make was like an acronym video or a terms video. I recorded my first video about a week ago, and that's going to go up in conjunction with this video, and that's a discussion video. And I realised when I was recording the video that I'm using a fair bit of jargon in the playback that I thought I should explain first. And the reason I thought I should explain it is so that when I refer to it in other videos, you can either click a link to this video to understand exactly what I'm talking about, or I suppose look it up as well if I'm using jargon that you don't understand. So the first thing that I refer to when I'm talking about photography a fair bit is what I call, or what a lot of people call, the triangle of exposure. Triangle of exposure is basically the three settings that you need when you're shooting manually. So those three things are your ISO setting. Your ISO setting is basically the setting that allows you to control the amount of light that comes in and hits the sensor on your camera. The second thing in that triangle is the depth of field, and the depth of field is how much of your foreground of your image is in focus compared to the rest of your image, and that's generally controlled by your f-stop. And then the third thing in the triangle of exposure is your shutter speed. So that's the amount of time that your shutter's open, that light's coming in to hit the sensor of your camera. And the other thing I talk about a lot when I'm talking about photography is composition, to acquire when you're learning to shoot. Now, a lot of people talk about composition in terms of the rule of thirds, and the rule of thirds is basically if you take an image, or if you take a scene and cut it into a grid, a 3x3 grid, you've got intersecting lines across those thirds, and the basic rules of composition say that what you're trying to do is get the main subjects of your image either on those intersecting lines or on the cross-section lines running across your image. I think that a lot of people default to the rule of thirds, and there are a lot of people who also say you need to very strictly stick to the rule of thirds. But I think when you're talking about composition, people jump to missing an important very first step. When I'm talking about composition, the very first step that I'm talking about is when you go to shoot an image, thinking about exactly the message that you're trying to convey in that image. So the first thing that you're trying to do is think about, what am I trying to tell? What story am I trying to tell in that photograph? And how is that going to fit inside of my frame? The other thing I thought I should just mention is the equipment that I mostly use. Now, I'll take you through this when I go out on photography, when I go out on shoots. Mostly, if I'm ever showing you a setting on a camera, the main camera I'm using these days is the Canon 7D. And if I'm ever talking about settings, I think I just wanted to point out that the settings that I use on my camera are going to vary. They'll be similar in other Canon models, like the 7D setup is very similar to the 5D options and things like that. But if you're shooting on a Nikon or an Olympus or something like that, the settings are going to be different, obviously, or a Sony or something like that. Alright, so that's it. As I said, it's a very quick video that I just wanted to talk about some of the terms that I'm going to use so that you don't get lost. And happy shooting. We'll talk to you soon.